Most people live like prisoners in their own lives. They dream of greatness, but spend their days scrolling, drifting, and waiting for tomorrow. They whisper weak promises. I'll try harder, I'll get better, I'll start soon. But tomorrow never comes, and weakness multiplies. Machiavelli would tell you the hard truth. A man without discipline is already conquered, not by enemies, but by himself. If you cannot command your own mind, your own time, your own habits, then you are not a ruler of your life. You are a servant, and servants do not shape destiny. They obey it. But there is another path, a path of order, a path of precision, a path of discipline so sharp it cuts through excuses, like steel through flesh. Discipline that makes you unstoppable. Today, I will show you how to build that discipline, step by step, using lessons Machiavelli himself would approve of, not fantasies, not soft advice, ruthless practical laws that will make your life unbreakable. Most people fail not because their goals are too small, but because they are too big and undefined. They stare at the mountain and collapse before taking the first step. They dream of building an empire, but they never lay the first brick. Machiavelli would say this is the mistake of a fool, to chase greatness without a strategy. A prince does not conquer an empire in one day. He conquers it village by village, fortress by fortress, piece by piece. Every small victory fuels the next. Every step builds momentum, and momentum once built is unstoppable. Think about it. If your goal is to launch a business and all you say is, "I'll start my company," you will drown in the weight of it. But if you break it down, if you say, "Today, I will write 1 sales page. Tomorrow, I will email 5 potential clients. The next day, I will research suppliers." Suddenly, the impossible becomes inevitable. The same applies to fitness. Don't declare, "I will transform my body." That's vague. That's too heavy to carry. Instead, "I will drink 2 liters of water today. I will run 1 kilometer today. I will do 20 push-ups today." Small tasks, repeated daily, build an iron body. Even in your personal life, the rule holds. Don't say, "I will be a better father, a better husband, a better son." Those are just words. Instead, "I will spend 10 minutes listening without distraction. I will send 1 message of gratitude today. I will sit at the table and eat 1 meal with my family." Little acts, repeated daily, transform relationships. Here's the secret. When you break your goals into pieces, you build proof. Proof creates belief. Belief fuels consistency, and consistency creates power. Machiavelli would remind you, victory is not seized in 1 blow, but through a campaign of many battles. And every battle, no matter how small, is a step toward conquest. So ask yourself right now, what is the smallest action I can take today that moves me closer to my larger goal? Not next week, not next month, today. Because no empire is built in a day. But every empire begins the same way, with 1 brick, 1 march, 1 battle won.
Hey guys, we're Strategy, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
Most people wake up like peasants. They open their eyes, grab their phone, and wait to be told what the day will be. Notifications command them, emails enslave them, distractions drag them around like prisoners on a chain. Machiavelli would call this pathetic. He would say, "A man who does not rule his time is already ruled. A prince does not drift. He commands. He decides when the city wakes, when the soldiers march, when the gates open, when the feast begins. His routine is law. and his people obey. Your life demands the same sovereignty. When you create a structured daily routine, you are no longer reacting to life, you are dictating it. Fixed times for waking, working, training, eating, and sleeping are not boring. They are weapons. Why? Because they reduce decision fatigue. Every time you hesitate, when should I work? Should I train now or later? Should I sleep earlier or push one more hour? You waste energy. That hesitation is weakness. A routine kills it. Think about soldiers on a battlefield. They don't ask, should we march at 8 or at 9? The time is set. The orders are fixed. The discipline is automatic. That is why they win. Apply it to yourself. Wake at the same time. Train at the same time. Eat at the same time. Sleep at the same time. Repeat until your day bends to your command. At work, this means blocking hours where you do nothing but the task that matters most. No wandering, no drifting, just execution. At home, it means setting times for meals, rest, and family, so they become rituals of loyalty, not random moments of chance. And here's the truth. Freedom is not the absence of structure. Freedom is the result of structure. When your hours are already decided, your mind is free to focus on building, creating, conquering. Machiavelli would tell you, every hour must bow to your will. Every task must serve the mission. Every minute must be accounted for. That is how you build discipline, not with scattered effort, but with a calendar carved like stone. So ask yourself, do I wake like a ruler commanding my day? Or do I wake like a servant, waiting for the world to decide for me? Because a man without a routine is a man without a crown. But a man whose days are structured becomes untouchable. Most people drown in endless lists. They fill their days with 20, 30 tasks, hoping productivity will make them powerful. But Machiavelli would laugh at this weakness. He knew. The prince who tries to fight on every battlefield loses them all. Power is not scattered. Power is concentrated. This is why you must choose your top 3 tasks each day. No more. These are your battles. These are your conquests. If you win them, the day is victorious, no matter what else happens. If you ignore them, the day is already lost. Think about it. A ruler does not wake and say, I'll handle whatever comes. He says, today, we secure that alliance, collect that tax, and strengthen that wall. Clear priorities, no compromise. Do the same in your life. At work, maybe your 3 are writing the proposal, calling the client, and finalizing the report. At home, maybe it's eating with your family, finishing a book chapter, and training your body. The rest? Secondary. If it gets done, good. If not, it doesn't matter. Why? Because discipline is not about doing everything. It's about doing what matters most, first. And here is the secret. When you consistently crush your top 3 priorities, you build self-respect. You begin to trust yourself, and when you trust yourself, you become dangerous, because most men never finish what they start. Machiavelli would ask you, are you scattering your energy on peasant tasks, or are you striking like a prince, choosing only the battles that decide the war? Remember this. One decisive strike is worth more than 100 half-hearted blows. So tomorrow morning, don't write a list of 20. Write a list of 3. And do them before anything else. Before the distractions, before the noise, before the world tries to steal your time. Because power is built not by busy men, but by men who win the right battles. Most people are not defeated by lack of talent or intelligence. They are defeated by distraction. Their strength leaks away, not in battles, but in notifications, in gossip, in endless scrolling. Machiavelli would see this for what it is, self-betrayal. A prince does not leave his palace gates wide open. He locks them. He decides who enters and who does not. You must do the same with your mind. Distractions are traps, and Machiavelli taught that the wise ruler must be both fox and lion. The fox to avoid traps, the lion to eliminate threats. In your case, the trap is every ping, every buzz, every false urgency. The threat is the people and habits that drain you. Turn off your notifications, cut the noise, block the sights, silence the world. Do you think a ruler answered every letter the moment it arrived? Number, he created mystery. He created distance. His time was rare and therefore valuable. So must yours be. And let's speak plainly. You cannot build power if your phone owns you. You cannot rule your life if everyone has instant access to you. Every time you break focus to reply, you hand your crown to someone else. Look around your workspace. Is it a fortress or is it a marketplace? Is it built for war or for distraction? Remove the temptations. Clear the desk. Block the interruptions. Create an environment where the only option is progress. At work, this means no open chat windows, no endless emails until your priorities are finished. At home, it means telling people, for the next 2 hours, I am unavailable. Not asking, declaring. Machiavelli would remind you, a ruler is destroyed not by his enemies, but by his weaknesses. And for you, distraction is weakness. Cut it without mercy. So ask yourself right now, am I living like a sovereign guarding my gates, or like a servant, available to every knock, every call, every distraction? Because here is the law. A distracted man cannot rule. A focused man cannot be stopped. Weak men fall because they cannot resist small temptations. A taste of sugar, a moment of comfort, a flash of pleasure, and they surrender. Machiavelli would call them unfit to rule, not over others, not even over themselves. He understood that pleasure makes men soft, but necessity makes them sharp. A prince cannot indulge every desire. He must restrain himself, endure hardship, and sacrifice today for the sake of tomorrow's power. The same applies to you. Discipline is forged in the moments you delay gratification. You tell yourself, I will finish 2 hours of work before I touch the TV, before I scroll, before I indulge. And when you obey that order, you prove something vital, that you are in command, not your impulses. Think about soldiers in the field. They do not eat before the battle is won. They march hungry. They endure the cold. Why? Because they know the feast belongs only to the victorious. Shouldn't your rewards work the same way? At work, resist the temptation to check messages every 5 minutes. Finish the project first, then reward yourself. In fitness, don't grab the dessert before you've trained. Train first, then eat. Even in relationships, don't chase constant validation. Earn respect through discipline, then enjoy the recognition. Every time you delay gratification, you are not just resisting temptation. You are strengthening your will. You are teaching your mind that comfort is a privilege, not a right. Machiavelli would remind you, fear sharpens the mind, and necessity forces action. When you withhold pleasure, you create necessity. You create hunger, and hunger creates drive. So ask yourself, am I owned by my impulses, or do my impulses obey me? Because the truth is simple. The man who indulges too soon becomes weak. The man who waits becomes powerful. And in a world of weakness, power is everything. Most men fail in private because no one is watching. They make promises to themselves, break them, and hide the evidence. Machiavelli would tell you this: a man who fears no witness will betray himself without hesitation. That is why accountability is a weapon. When you declare your goals to others, a friend, a mentor, a colleague. You put your reputation on the line, and reputation, Machiavelli knew, is more valuable than gold. A prince does not simply act for himself. He acts under the eyes of allies, enemies, and the people. If he falters, he loses respect. If he breaks his word, he loses power. That pressure forces him to stay disciplined. You must create the same pressure in your own life. Tell someone, I will finish this project by Friday. Tell them, I will run every morning this week. Tell them, I will not touch social media until my work is done. Now failure is no longer private. Now your honor is at stake. At work, this means sending your manager a deadline before you've even started, so you're forced to deliver. In fitness, it might mean telling your training partner your weekly target, knowing they'll see if you quit. In personal goals, it might mean publicly announcing your commitment, so others expect you to stand by it. And if you want true intensity, put money, status, or ego on the line. Bet against yourself. Wager with friends. Make the cost of failure visible. Machiavelli would say, men act more from fear of loss than from hope of gain. Use that fear. Ask yourself, who knows what I've promised? Who will see if I fail? Who will hold me to account? Because the truth is simple. Alone, you can break your word. But under the gaze of others, you will fight harder. Machiavelli understood that external pressure forges internal strength, and he would never rely on private will alone. He would harness the fear of shame to sharpen his discipline. So if you want to stay loyal to your goals, don't keep them secret. Expose them, make them public. Force yourself into the arena where failure has consequences, because a man who fears nothing becomes careless, but a man who fears the loss of respect becomes unstoppable. Most people live without keeping score. They wander through days, weeks, months, never measuring what they've done, never confronting what they've failed. And because they never measure, they never improve. Machiavelli would call this blindness, and he would remind you, a prince who does not know the state of his kingdom will soon lose it. Your life is your kingdom, and if you do not track it, you cannot rule it. Every day you must write down your victories and your failures, not in vague words, but in numbers, in facts, in proof. I read 20 pages. I trained 45 minutes. I wasted 2 hours scrolling. I skipped my morning routine. Why? Because visible progress creates motivation, and visible failure exposes weakness. Machiavelli trusted records over words. He did not ask, are the people loyal? He checked the taxes, the soldiers, the spies' reports. He looked at the evidence. You must do the same. Do not trust your feelings. They lie. Trust the record. Trust the page. At work, this means logging how many tasks you truly finished, not how busy you felt. In fitness, it means tracking the weights lifted, the kilometers run, the meals eaten. In personal growth, it means recording hours of study, books read, habits kept. And here's the power. When you see your wins, you create belief. When you see your failures, you create urgency. And both are fuel for discipline. Ask yourself, if someone opened the book of my life today, would they see a ruler in control or a peasant making excuses? Because here is the law. What is measured sharpens. What is ignored rots. Machiavelli would never leave his power to chance. He would document it, track it, monitor it with ruthless precision. And if you want discipline, you must do the same. So write it down. Record the day. Build your own book of victories and betrayals. Because only when the truth is visible can you rule yourself. Weak bodies create weak minds, and weak minds cannot rule. Machiavelli knew this well. A prince who could not march with his soldiers who could not endure the cold, the hunger, the long campaigns. Such a prince would lose the loyalty of his men and the respect of his enemies. Your body is not just flesh. It is your fortress. It is the vessel that carries your will. And if the fortress is crumbling, your discipline will collapse with it. This is why you must build resilience, both mental and physical. Exercise regularly. Train until effort becomes habit, until pain becomes normal. Eat like a man preparing for battle, not like a child chasing pleasure. Sleep enough to sharpen your mind, because a tired ruler makes weak decisions, and weak decisions lead to ruin. Think of soldiers in war. They don't stop because they are tired. They march through storms, through hunger, through exhaustion. Why? Because they have been trained to endure, and endurance creates power. Apply this to your own life. At work, resilience means grinding through challenges without whining, staying calm under pressure, delivering even when tired. In fitness, it means pushing 1 rep more, 1 mile further, 1 day longer than the man next to you. In daily life, it means controlling your emotions, not snapping under stress, not breaking when others would. Machiavelli would remind you, the prince must be both loved and feared, but he must never be despised. And nothing earns contempt faster than weakness. A body that is frail, a mind that collapses, a spirit that bends, these invite exploitation. But a man who is strong, disciplined, resilient, he can't be ignored. Ask yourself, do I command respect when I walk into a room, or do I invite pity? Because here is the truth. Discipline is not sustained by willpower alone. It is sustained by strength. And if you want to rule yourself, you must first harden yourself. Build the body. Build the mind. Build the resilience that makes discipline not a struggle, but your natural state. Most men destroy their own discipline because they chase perfection. The first slip, the first failure, the first missed day. And they collapse. They say, I've failed, so why continue? That is weakness. That is surrender. Machiavelli would never demand perfection. He knew rulers make mistakes, princes stumble, armies lose battles. But what matters is not one mistake. It is the campaign. Consistency wins empires. Perfection is a myth. So when you build discipline, do not reward yourself for being flawless. Reward yourself for being loyal to the mission. 7 days of training. Celebrate. A week of sticking to your morning routine. Reward it. Why? Because you are reinforcing loyalty to habit, not punishing yourself for being human. Think of a prince ruling his people. If he punished them harshly for every tiny mistake, he would be hated. But if he rewarded loyalty, if he honored consistency, the people would remain faithful. Apply the same logic to yourself. Be a ruler, not a tyrant, over your own discipline. At work, this means praising yourself for completing a week of focus, not quitting because one afternoon slipped away. In fitness, it means acknowledging 10 days of workouts, not hating yourself for missing one. In life, it means valuing progress over self-destruction. Machiavelli would remind you, it is better to be feared than loved, but never hated. Do not become a tyrant to yourself, hating every slip, crushing your spirit. Instead, be the prince who rewards loyalty, even if imperfect. Ask yourself, am I building a system that keeps me loyal, or am I whipping myself until I quit? Because here is the law. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. One slip means nothing if you rise again. One mistake means nothing if the pattern is unbroken. Consistency builds strength. Perfection builds despair. And Machiavelli would never choose despair. He would reward loyalty, reward persistence, and move forward without hesitation. So reward yourself not for never failing, but for always returning. That is how discipline lasts. That is how power grows. Here is the truth. Most men wander through life hoping. They hope for health, hope for success, hope for respect. But hope is the tool of the powerless. Discipline is the weapon of rulers. Machiavelli knew it. He knew that empires rise not on dreams, but on structure, not on perfection, but on persistence, not on comfort, but on sacrifice. If you master these laws, clear goals, small steps, routine, focus, delayed gratification, accountability, tracking, resilience, and consistency, you will no longer live like a servant of chance. You will live like a prince of your own destiny. So ask yourself now, will I drift like the masses, or will I command like the few? Because the choice is yours. Weakness or power, drift or discipline, servant or ruler. And remember this, Machiavelli would never wait for tomorrow. He would seize today. So should you.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.